we live?
Yes,
Should I
yes,
say something? Or should
presumably.
in dramatic silence?
Dramatic silence is always effective.
Welcome to the Broodio, the Adventure Broodio. It's time to brood. Just angry silence for 60 minutes as we look at this map of trains. Or welcome to the Adventure Broodio, where we still look at the train map, but for less angry reasons. Do I have to sing a song this time? I suppose I should
I think you
explain.
do. I think that's part of it. Yeah.
I could just
Sing monkey.
the Thomas the Tank Engine theme, but then Thomas's lawyers would destroy us. Oh, it's the Adventure Rodeo. Here we go. Yo ho. That's nautically themed, which is inappropriate. Oh,
There's coastline in this game.
there's a coastline. I'll take it. I could have come if I just thought about that. I could have come up with something a lot more funky. There are so many great songs about trains and train tracks, and I just drew a blank.
Well, all the ones that you want to reference would also have sued you. So, you
There is
know.
that. In many ways, my ignorance and stage fright has legally protected us from a financial
Yet again.
disaster. Yeah, a little bit of explanation. Why am I doing the theme song? Regular viewers may be asking themselves. It's because I'm streaming today because Drew cannot because he's in a statewide weather disaster at the moment. So
Yeah. My power situation is not what one would call stable. So, if I suddenly vanish from this stream without explanation, well, you know what the explanation is.
Third world country called Texas.
but
Oh
luckily,
man, it's
then luckily, if Drew does have to disappear, I've got Rick here to play this train game with me. So there you go, Rick. That's the next 50 odd minutes sorted out for you.
Right. Well, now I know what I'm doing with my afternoon.
it is a fun game today. So in continuing with February, which is our board game digital month, we are doing Ticket to Ride.
Now, you've played this before, is that right, Drew?
Yeah, I've played the in-person edition back in the before.
Ah, back when people used to play games together.
Yeah, when gathering amongst others was both fun and not a thing that made you feel like just a real piece of shit.
Those were the days. Uh, yeah, I've never really heard of this. I've heard it being mentioned, and I've heard it was a game about trains, and then I just kind of shut off. I'm not really a train guy, but I know people who are train guys, and I get the impression that their idea of a good time and my idea of a good time might be at very different stations. But I don't know. I'm willing to give it a go. I've heard good things. Rick and I have played a little kind of warm up round, so we kind of know how it works. So just a little introduction for people at home. Basically, the objective of this game is to ride as many trains as possible within the time limit. Just super dedicated to riding trains. You get a certain amount of carriages. You get to pick routes that you have to fulfill, and then you pick carriage cards of different colors, and you need enough carriage cards of a certain color to make certain routes. So if the route has 3 pink tiles, you need 3 pink carriages, or you can't uh, cross that route. So it's not really a game of
That's the case.
time. There's no kind of timer on it. Well, there is, but it's like an hour. It's not like a fast-paced game. We can just sit here being really careful about train routes if you want. It's a strategy game.
A very fitting A&D game. Carefully contemplating train routes. The
Buy a
game.
fucking car.
I mean, it sounds like, I mean, it doesn't, it's not a great pitch. I'll admit that now for people kind of just tuning in now. Carefully planning train routes might not be as visually appealing as you'd think. But I don't know. In the warm up, I kind of maybe got a glimpse of how this could become very addictive. Maybe I'm a secret train guy. I don't know.
It's a very popular game. I think it won some awards. Like, it has a few editions. It's a enjoyed experience overall,
Somebody
despite the train theming.
somebody told me it was a German style board game, which didn't really turn out the way I thought it was going to. I had a different thing in my head when they said that.
Over while we put on the glove.
Right, so I'm choosing these route cards, so that should kick us off. I need to get from what, New Orleans to Chicago. Is that the route I'm on now? No, let's go Los Angeles to New York. LA to New York, the only two American cities, and we just crossed a wasteland within them, as I'm led to believe from watching Hollywood movies.
Having done a cross-country trip last year, I can pretty much concur. The whole list.
Oh, that would have been great if you had been able to get a rough approximation of, Jersey to Las Vegas,
Just recreating Rick's route.
recreating A&D Con 2019 for Rick.
I'm doing Boston to Miami, by the way.
I'm going to pass
Not a-
Vegas in my route, apparently. Should point out
Oh
that
yes, because there's no
Yeah.
Vegas station. Oh wait, there is a Vegas station. You could roughly do New York to Vegas.
well, I'm going to pass
Huh.
Vegas anyway, just for the heck of it. These
Just-
but these no color carriages, you can fill those with any color, so that's quite handy for me because I got two of those bad boys. On my way, the adventure begins. Will I get past Vegas or spend 3 days in a coma? Only
The
time.
route
will
I'm
tell.
doing is not a great one because I used to travel from New Jersey to North Carolina for work, and one time I decided to take the train, and coming down it was fine, but going up, I show up the train station, I get rid of my rental car, and they tell me, oh, by the way, the train's delayed. I'm like, okay, that's fine. How long is it delayed? 8 hours.
Oof, yeah,
That's not a delay. That's a cancellation on a new train.
yeah. I mean that's like same train tomorrow. You have to wait for tomorrow's train.
Yeah, pretty much.
Give me somebody.
So why don't we open this up with the customary topic that we always have to hit: what we're writing and working on, etc. Because of course, Authors and Dragons is also a D&D fantasy podcast where we are writers.
Included in the name.
Very relevant.
The authors part of it. We're all
Indeed.
authors, and only some of us are dragons.
Don't give it away, Steve.
Well, I didn't say who.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, there you go.
It's definitely Bevan.
I'm just picturing like a giant dragon slowly killing a case of Kirkland Light and crushing the cans in his claws. What's that sound? I made a can crusher.
Yeah, Can Crusher. That's believable. That's a believable cover story.
Oh god, now I imagine him sitting on a hoard of just nothing but instead of gold, it's just crushed Kirkland Light cans.
Oh, that's
Just
glorious.
casually kills a knight that wanders through. What was that? Garage door opened.
That's why it sounded so terrible. All right. Okay. Oh man, I can't go anywhere. I have stranded myself at Vegas.
I mean, you're not the first. You won't be the last.
Yeah, writing project at the minute, a little bit quiet. Again, mystery project I have been working on. Super mysterious. Can't possibly talk about it at this juncture. And today I mailed off a load of Brandon Firemaster and some other guys' books that I had signed to E.M. Kaplan, my co-author, so she can sign them and then give them out to people who want them. However, that's going to work once they're stateside. So they're somewhere over the Atlantic right now, probably. And I'll keep you guys posted.
How about you, Rick?
I finished the first draft last week of Carnage à Trois, which is the third book in Bill of the Dead.
That's
And
a brilliant title.
yeah, so some of them they just hit you, and you're just like, yeah, that's the title. I'm not changing that. And so I'm going to be. I'm working on a no. I too have a secret project I'm working on. So I'm editing that this week, but I'm also starting in writing Bent Not Broken, which is the fourth book in my Hybrid of High Moon series.
Oh, nice. Not resting on your laurels there then.
I have some momentum going, and I am terrified of wasting it.
Yeah, good shout.
Yeah, momentum matters.
That's a solid
Um,
bit of advice for any budding writers out there, actually. If you're in the
it
zone,
is,
keep going.
dude. If you have momentum, it it's a thing.
Yeah.
I So my project is not secret. I am wrapping up the current Fred book. In fact, I expect to finish the rough draft, very clearly here, the rough draft, not a final version, a rough draft this week.
Is it a rough draft?
Yeah,
So
I
not the
mean,
final draft.
I learned my lesson earlier on. I was like, all right, I'm finishing this week, and it's like people mistook that to mean that it would become available very soon. Uh, but yeah, so hopefully Ruff will be wrapped this week for Fred, and then a little bit of break as I handle some various household tasks, and then diving into the next spells, swords, and stealth. And I don't really have any secret projects to tease, although I have like a few I'm scheming and plotting. Those are those are more for. I don't have anything secret. I'm mostly just working on the stuff everyone knows I'm working on. I'm boring like that.
You need to just make up. Just say you've got a secret project. They'll never know.
I mean, I guess I've been working on my next shingles. I've been doing some outlining work for that. So that's sort of a secret project. I actually do have one, but it's like one I've been kicking around for over a year, like kind of slowly outlining and figuring out. So it's like, yeah, it'll be a project at some point, but one of those.
Ah,
Oh, we had a donation question from BioFoot78 that requested if we could update our WandaVision talk with last week's episode in consideration.
oh wow, yeah. Oh man, I mean, I guess that's the problem with the bi-weekly format of SideQuest, because sometimes there's just a lot going on, and would be really great. We do tend to like start a lot of podcasts, but if you could just like follow something now that it's weekly, I could potentially just do a short podcast dedicated to that every week if I wasn't already doing like 4 different podcasts.
Well, I mean, we've got the space for it right here. We have the donation question, so I mean, I think we
Yeah.
could spend some time talking about that. General blanket warning for all of WandaVision that has been released up to this point. So if you're watching this on the replay, it is February 17th, meaning we are up to episode 6.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the spoiler alert out of the way. Now let's get to ruining it. Yeah, I mean, we were baffled as to how they were going to solve the Pietro dilemma, and they solved it by just marching straight up to it and slapping it in the face. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're a different actor," and the different actor saying, "Yeah, deal with it." That's pretty much how they.
Yeah.
It's it's like they presented it as, "Do you know what's going on and why you look different?" Him saying, "No, not really. I mean, it's you're the one twisting reality here. You figure it out." So
Yeah, there was a lot of fourth wall winking going on there.
which really fitted with the fact
Yeah.
that they presented it as a 90s comedy because they had all the sort of like flashbacks that didn't really happen, and Wanda was going like, "I don't remember that happening. Surely our childhoods weren't that whimsical and ridiculous." They weren't because it's a 90s sitcom and they just do all kinds of absurdist shit in that era. Or I say 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s, kind of, I guess, post Malcolm in the Middle style sitcoms.
But there were also a couple nods there, like the whole "What happened to your accent? Well, what happened to yours?"
Yeah, I mean, that's either like a tremendous screw you to the viewers, or they're planning on kind of landing that somehow. And I'd be impressed either way, really, to be honest. if they're suddenly going to explain why they just abandoned the fact that she had a vaguely East European accent in the second movie she was there, I just thought she was like code switching for Americans, but I don't know. Maybe there's something deeper going on.
I mean, maybe she's wiping it out as part of her whole reality shifting doodad. Because when she popped out of the barrier, she had her accent back.
Yeah, it still doesn't explain why she dropped it in the movies, unless she was just I don't know.
Yeah.
Just losing Drew a little bit there. A reminder that he is currently facing severe environmental problems. He might drop out. So if he does go quiet, it's not because he's being rude.
I like to think that there are people out there who are like, okay, I'm watching a show about a psychic witch who just brought her robot husband back to life, and the thing that bothers me most is the accents aren't.
She didn't stick her accent out. How am I supposed to buy into this ridiculous bull?
Fuck this noise.
But that's the thing. If they hadn't, mentioned about the accent, it really wouldn't have bothered me. I wouldn't have cared. I'm not writing angry letters to Disney that you know of. But the fact that they're either playing with the kind of nodding to the camera stuff that was really prevalent in that genre of sitcom, or they're going to address it and land it somehow, or maybe a bit of both. So I found that quite intriguing.
I mean, they I like how they're doing it. They are throwing enough mystery in it. They're throwing horror. They are really hitting multi-genre with this, and that's why it's kind of keeping it fresh. But at the same time, enough winks to the camera to keep it fun too.
Yeah,
Like this like it could get heavy and depressing it, but they're really making an effort to to keep it what it is.
I wonder how tonally it will shift with the, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? The formats that they're stealing from throughout the ages of television, and whether being in a different format allows them to tackle different things. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking that. It looks like they're still going to be in the kind of post Malcolm in the Middle TV format for the next episode, because it ended on sort of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything with this show.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, it's fun to speculate, but so far they've amped it up every episode, really. So could go anywhere.
And what's that leave? Like four episodes left or so?
Yeah, that's right. Which is quite a lot of space to do some, considering how much trippy shit they've done already.
One thing I do like I mentioned during the episode that I didn't like the fact that it was only a half an hour episodes. I really wanted an hour. But one thing I am appreciating is like having watched like shows like Supernatural and stuff where there was so many filler episodes in a season. And I'm appreciating the fact that there's really not a lot of filler going on here. Like everything
No. Yeah.
Everything makes sense to what it is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's actually, considering how many different sort of directions they're going in any one episode, it's quite tightly told what they're doing. So yeah, I'm invested now. I am enjoying it. Curious to see where it goes tomorrow.
Oh God, it's Thursday already. Oh no, today's Wednesday.
Oh man, I can't claim a route you've already been on, even if it's parallel. Oh, that sucks. I can only do that if there's like 4 of us, apparently. Seems an arbitrary.
Yeah, I can see how if you have 3 or 4 people playing this game, how there's going to be a lot of anger going on.
Yeah.
You son of a. bitch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of picking this up. I guess if I was playing this more competitively, I'd be looking at your route and thinking, now what color card does he need, and how can I ruin his day?
Yeah. Yeah, I am incapable of thinking quite that far ahead.
Yeah, me too, luckily. And keep it friendly. I'm not focused enough to try and destroy you. So. I'm nearly at New York. Here we go. Hey, route complete. That was satisfying. Look at them train. Oh my god, maybe I am a train guy. My next route is Chicago to New Orleans.
Hmm.
It should be somewhat easier. Yeah, it's a shame we lost Drew on that because I know he's pretty into WandaVision as well. He's a big fan of kind of old format television too, so he's got double the reason to like it.
I had to restrain myself, like, this week. One of my Facebook friends was like, he was going off on a rant of how Justice League was better than Endgame, and I was like, I started typing out the like, and furthermore response, and then I was like, no, people are allowed to like what they like,
No, they're
just
not.
because you don't agree.
No, they're not. That's some bullshit. Be free. You know, don't just sit there not being angry at some guy you'll never meet on the internet. Otherwise, what is the internet for?
What is
But
the point of life if you can't be randomly angry at somebody for something that is like really none of your damn business?
something arbitrary and harmless, and yet somehow infuriating. Well, speaking of that, you must by now have seen the new trailer for Justice League. How are you feeling
Yes,
about that?
I am feeling absolutely nothing about it because I watched it and I was like, it's competent enough, but there's absolutely no emotion that I'm feeling there. And I think part of that is just because, and I'm not sure if it's because of the trailer itself or if it's because I kind of despised the theatrical release of Justice
Yeah,
League. So I'm not sure which one is, but I'm thinking maybe it's the trailer itself because usually I have kind of like a response to anything that kind of hits me as cool.
yeah,
Like the Godzilla versus Kong trailer, like it hit me, and that was kind of like a slap upside the face of like this is cooler than you, motherfucker.
yeah,
And usually I'm pretty good at like at justifying that. And I don't know, DC's trailers, like I said, they're competent, but even like the new the Batman one, which I am looking forward. I think Robert Pattinson will make a fine Batman, like Bruce Wayne or so.
hmm
It didn't make me feel anything. In fact, I think the last DC one that I felt something for was not the last one, but the original trailer for Wonder Woman 84. Because I
yeah,
really liked the use of music in that, and it kind of like said, "Hey, this is gonna be a fun, campy like thing." And then I watched the movie, and it kind of
uh,
sucked.
yeah,
But the trailer is still good.
yeah. I mean, normally, I mean, a good trailer is no guarantee of a good movie, but normally, like a lackluster trailer is a bit of a red flag. Did I think it was lackluster? I thought it was. It had kind of a tonal consistency that the theatrical release definitely didn't have. So I appreciated that. It might look like it might actually be a movie that wasn't kind of made up of spare parts, which generally I think the least you piss around with, the least kind of like a studio pisses around with a movie, generally the better it is. Generally, not always. So yeah, I was kind of, I don't know, I'm curious. I wasn't moved. And there were things they were going for that I'm sure much hardcore DC fans than me would really appreciate. It's like, oh, Granny Goodness is in it. It's like I'm only vaguely aware of that character. That doesn't mean anything to me. And, oh look,
Yeah,
Joker is back. It's like, yeah, but didn't we all just pretend that he didn't exist? Are we coming back from that? So,
Yeah, it's like I don't know. There's a cult on Twitter that is convinced this movie will be the second coming. Um, and that might that weirds me out. That doesn't really turn me off. I mean, I'm gonna watch this regardless. But it's weird. It's kind of hard to think of this as an actual Snyder cut because they reinvested 30 friggin' more $1 million into it. Like
yeah,
when the Donner cut of Superman 2 came out, I'm pretty sure they just threw together the footage they had and said, "Hey, you know, we spent a little bit in the editing vault. Here it is."
yeah. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be when you recut a movie. It's recutting the movie. It's not reshooting. I understand that the circumstances of what happened with Justice League were very unique and tragic in nature. But I don't know. I don't know if there was that much Zack Snyder footage left if they have to if they had to spend that much on reshooting stuff. But I don't know. I mean, that might not necessarily be too much of a problem, but
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I want to judge it as it is. Like, I know how the theatrical release is, and I
mm,
know there's going to be plenty of shots in there from the theatrical release. But the thing is the narrative different enough where I actually give a shit about what's happening?
yeah, I mean, normally I'm pretty good at kind of switching off from what I know about something and enjoying it for what it is. But if you've already seen like an entirely different movie using the same shots, it's gonna give you like this feeling of deja vu, not going quite right, I guess. Be a bit
Necessarily,
strange.
because I did watch the Donner cut of like Superman 2, and though it's fundamentally the same movie, there are you know exactly where it deviates, and the deviations actually are kind of like, all right, that actually makes this better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's gonna go for being an entirely different thing, which is the thing about comic book movies and what we're experiencing now with the whole Marvel multiverse and what looks like a different timeline exploration coming up. If you're a long-term comic reader, that's just Tuesday. So for me, the Whedon cut, I guess, being I don't know some kind of alternate timeline from the Schneider cut, yeah, that's fine. I actually quite like it when they do that in the comic books, when they present like an alternate future which is really grim and all your favorite heroes die, as long as it's not the main canon. But so yeah, I've got no problem kind of accepting it as just canonically a canonical kind of deviation from what the original movie was supposed to be. But yeah, I don't mind too much about that. I would say I have gone from this is a stupid idea and I'm not interested in this at all to I might actually sit down for the full 3 days or however long this movie is and watch it. So I'm not saying I'm going in there full of bright-eyed optimism, but I think I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
And it
I
will
mean,
have
there's no doubt in my
superheroes.
mind that I'm
Yeah,
going to watch it.
it will have superheroes punching each other, which is kind of the baseline I expect of a movie to be able to enjoy it on some level.
And I'll give Zack Snyder credit. I'm not a huge DC fan, but I know enough. And like one of the things that the original Avengers did that was brilliant was they're fighting the Chitauri, who was basically a throwaway bad guy, but at the end they introduced Thanos.
Hmm.
And my thoughts for Justice League was knowing who the bad guy was. All right, this is fine, but it should be setting up for Darkseid because Darkseid is the guy you want to see these guys fight. And the fact that they actually are kind of like rectifying this and that. The fact that the Whedon cut took him out of there completely, I honestly just mystified me. It was almost like this is like an easy money shot here. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, I am curious to see what's going to happen. And that's the thing about Zack Snyder. A lot of people he's one of those guys that's so stylistically recognizable that he kind of instantly memed himself. I mean, 300 was great. It was really gorgeous to look at. Like you paid so much attention to sort of way that kind of rolled out on the screen. It was visually lovely. Watchmen was visually lovely, but he just became kind of a parody of himself quite
Well, it
quickly.
doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt the fact that you can tell there's a lot of ego behind it. So
Mm.
he kind of made himself relatively easy to hate.
Yeah, that's the thing about it's quite easy to get pretentious when you're a filmmaker, but particularly a kind of stylistic auteur. You're always going to be sort of, towing the line between being somebody who's is cinema, as Scorsese might put it, or somebody who thinks they're cinema. But I don't know. I've always liked his visual style, even if it was kind of. I never thought it was appropriate for the DC universe, particularly if you're kicking off with Superman. I think that's legitimately when I just lost faith in the kind of the DC direction because Marvel was killing it at the time with just being quite open-hearted about its franchise and its characters, and they were still in. Well, Nolan says this is all got to be gritty, so let's get Zack Snyder to handle, uh, the all-American superpowered Boy Scout. There are just some fundamental missteps at the beginning of this entire endeavor.
Well, it also doesn't hurt that there are sections of Man of Steel. I still maintain that it has one of the funniest death scenes that's trying to play serious in all of friggin' cinema. You cannot get me to watch Pa Kent's demise in that movie and not have me laughing at just the utter stupidity of how it's played.
That must fucking infuriate Batman. It's just be like, my parents were shot. They did not want to die. Your dad just walked determinedly into a hurricane
Yeah.
and told you to go fuck yourself. Yeah. It's there have been some missteps,
Yeah,
but I'm not
yeah.
a bitter man. I'm gonna try and let I'm gonna try not to let the whole conversation around it and the whole tribalism on the internet around it and previous mistakes and the fucking Suicide Squad color my opinion of what this movie's going to be. I'm just going to try and go in there with however many tons of popcorn I need to get through its week-long runtime and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, I make no qualms about the fact that I thought the theatrical version was a train wreck.
Hmm.
But if but I'm also fair. If I sit down for this 4 hour, you know, oh God, I could be watching Lord of the Rings instead, like, marathon. And at the end of it, I'm like, holy shit, they made this into a good movie. I will be more than happy to eat crow.
Yeah, yeah. I'm always pleased to be entertained. I'm not going to be resentfully entertained. Oh, I might. I've
Yeah.
listened to myself for this podcast. I might be resentfully entertained. But yeah, I'm curious now. I've gone from eye rolling to uh, idle curiosity. There's a couple of reasons for me to get HBO Max now.
Zilla versus Kong,
Yep, that too.
because I am going to watch the fuck out of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they had a monkey punching a dinosaur and they had me at hello.
And I've told my family that I would prefer they watch it with me, and they really don't want to. And I've been like, okay, that's fine, but let us make no mistake about it. I'm still going to be watching and enjoying it, regardless of whether or not you're sitting there with me.
Yeah, well, I think this would be one of those all or nothing things. You either watch the movie and you enjoy it, or you get out. Yeah, I think there's that 30 coins thing I want to see on HBO Max as well. So I don't know. It might be maybe in a month or so. See what Disney Plus is doing with WandaVision. Might have to start juggling the streaming services. I think that's going to be a large part of my future. I mean, I've had Netflix for years now, just without worrying about it. Just, I've got Netflix. I watch things on Netflix. But now there's
Yeah,
too
that
many
is one.
competing streaming services to have that attitude, I think.
Yeah, I do have to get into the mindset of realizing that some of these things are month by month, and if there's nothing to watch, there's no reason for me to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be a hard one to like get my brain around. Um, like Hulu, for example, I'm month to month, and it's not much. It's like $4 or $5 a month, but I haven't really watched anything in the last in the last like 30 days. And a part of me is like, you could just turn it off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot more competition for that $5. And like $5 isn't a lot, but you got I think I've got like 4 streaming services rolling at the minute. That kind of adds up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, same here. I mean, I like the fact that I have a lot of like options there, but some nights it does. Some nights it's like what was it? On HBO Max. I started one of their original series the other night, Raised by Wolves,
Mm.
and I can't say it's bad, but I can't say it's good either. It's just bizarre.
I've heard that people watching that going, yeah, this is weird. I get into stuff like that. I really like the weird stuff. Like, wow, this is weird. I love it. But sometimes that becomes very difficult to land. So, all right, I think this is we're out of carriage, so it's tallying up the points now.
So on Steve's point about the streaming,
Oh man,
I have no idea what it's doing here.
it's counting up all the routes we successfully made and detracting all the ones we didn't successfully make. Oh yes, beat you by 2 carriages. Oh no, more. Bonus.
so you know what streaming service I have gotten more use out of than I ever expected?
Go on.
The Discovery Plus one.
Huh.
Ah,
I picked it up because I found out that BattleBots had been reincarnated, and I was like, "All right, what the fuck? I kind of want to check this out." And they had a 2-week free trial, and there's a few back seasons, so I was like, "All right, I'll just keep it until I run out of BattleBots to watch." And A, that's been really fucking fun, and then B, they've got like Moonshiners, they've got a bunch of like Animal Plant stuff. Like, I don't think I'm gonna keep it forever, but I definitely think it will be like one in rotation. And like I think, as Steve pointed out, it's gonna start being a thing. It's like, well, maybe for half a year I'll do Discovery, and then maybe I'll hop back to Disney Plus and catch up on shit, and things
Mm.
like that.
I'm kind of the same. We have Crunchyroll here, and there's like 1,200 which call it like 1,200
Shows.
yeah, like series on there, and I know my wife is like is working through them, and it's very interesting. Some of those series, I will say.
Yeah, I like Crunchyroll. That one is on my permanent list because it's one of the few options for a consistent weekly release schedule anymore. I think we talked about this in the WandaVision, how we liked that it released an episode at a time. And if you're, especially during like the droughts of sitcom times, sometimes Crunchyroll is like the only programming to look forward to because at least they have consistent seasons that update every week.
Rick, apparently you forfeited this game and you were replaced by a robot. I'm sorry to tell you, but
Because I tried joining it, and it basically just jumped me back into the same game we were in.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I don't know why I did that, but I guess we can just continue chatting while I play this robot, or I could try again. Let me try again. You guys carry on talking while I try and get rid of this robot in a polite way.
I will, as much as I'm saying nice things about the Discovery Plus one, will also have to pause and give them absolute shit because they don't have House Hunters. They have like a House Hunters channel where it's like there's always a House Hunters on, which is great, but like, what the fuck, man? That's your most popular show. How do you not have that on your streaming network? As like,
Yeah.
here's all the fucking backlog.
Yeah, that was the thing. What was it like HBO Max? They added it like 2 weeks ago, so that was fine. But like when I was binging through like all the DC stuff, I was like, okay, Aquaman's next. Where the fuck's Aquaman? So yeah, it's there. It is there is kind of a weird thing where you kind of expect there to be, um, I guess, certain shows on certain channels, and when they're not, it's like the fuck.
And that's a really weird because that's like their far and away breakout fucking smash. Like House Hunters is a phenomenon unto itself that nothing else that Discovery has comes close to measuring up. It would be akin to Nickelodeon launching a streaming service in like the early aughts and not having SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that on a quality standpoint. I just mean in terms of overall cultural power and like draw.
Mm.
No, you're 100% right. It's like it makes no freaking sense.
Yeah, it's wild. Like if they had that, Discovery Plus could be a contender for like a permanent service because that's a shitload of content to go through. But like without it, it's like yeah, I'm gonna watch my shows and then I'm gonna move on.
Yeah. I guess this is how they'll strategically be thinking with like content acquisition and creation from now on. Just getting people. I guess the Netflix days of we'll have a big draw which will get them to Netflix, and we'll just release it all as soon as we have it because it will get them through the door, and then of course they'll stick around for all our wonderful content. It's like, no, I think it's going to be more.
It's almost like they, such as the channels, are learning the power in having a weekly draw, getting people to tune back in.
Yeah, relearning old lessons there.
Grog no need round wheel. Round wheel stupid.
Somebody raised a point. I was having a conversation with a chap on the internet, and he said, well, a lot of people kind of like they get bored waiting for the update. But I'm kind of like, no, I appreciate having the time back. I don't want to sacrifice an entire weekend just so I can be part of the conversation of, the program I really like. I quite like being drip fed the culturally relevant stuff.
Like so that Netflix stuff is like 12, 14 hours you're supposed to cannonball through a weekend. Like I'm an obsessive nutball, so I don't mind that super bad, but like most people can't do that. That's not fun.
Once in a while I'll have a weekend where it's like I'm not doing anything, I can do that. But you're right. It's like you have to kind of acknowledge that I am giving up a significant chunk of my life versus I'm giving up small pieces once a week.
And on the different side of just kind of how I enjoy television, I've got some time off work in a minute because my kid's half term, where normally we'd go and do something, but now we can just stay in the house even more. But I decided to finally catch up on the new Twin Peaks season, which I've been waiting to do for a while. And I'll watch like maybe 2 or 3 episodes a night. And by the third, I'm starting to kind of miss stuff. And the Twin Peaks season is sort of, David Lynch put a lot of effort into that. It's really cinematic. It's really kind of artistically done. And I'm thinking, I'm just kind of zoning out of this. Am I, enjoying this how it's supposed to be enjoyed? Wouldn't I rather just kind of have a crack at it every week or so and then focus entirely on one episode rather than, give half my attention to 3? So, yeah, I don't mind the weekly drop, and I think being as it seems to be the smarter move for streaming, I think people will probably just adjust.
Well, it's not like we don't have some experience being conditioned to
it. Yeah, that's true. And there's always the case, of course, that if you're not that fussed about it, you can just wait for a month and watch it all in one if that's what you like to do.
Yeah, but then you end up in like the situation where you missed the cultural conversation as a whole. But yeah, I mean, we talked about that is a little bit more drawn out now. Like when I missed the Last Dance train, there was like a couple of weeks and then it was over. But with WandaVision, because they've stretched it, like you're checked out on months of cultural discussion.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody in my situation, if it's a toss-up between you have to sacrifice an entire weekend of your life to be part of the cultural conversation, or being a bit more reasonable. I know which one I'm going to pick. But don't get me wrong, I wish I could just sit in the house for 2 days watching a TV program that I like. But I don't know, it's just increasingly not an option, unfortunately.
Yeah, with so many places to go.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've got other stuff I need to watch. Busy man.
Yeah, that I do believe. That's real. Oh,
Made a route. Now we're talking. Now we're talking trains.
I was confused. While we're just talking, I guess we're just doing a whole streaming service breakdown on this
Yeah.
one. I saw previews, or not previews, commercials for a new Paramount streaming service on the Super Bowl. And that is really confusing to me because doesn't Paramount already have a streaming service? And isn't that what bought out CBS's streaming service?
I thought Paramount. I mean, they had a cable channel, right?
Not here, to my knowledge.
Apparently, they realized that CBS All Access really did not give people enough.
Yeah, but that was a few months ago. Like Paramount already bought up CBS All Access a while ago. So I'm like, they're like pitching it like it had a launch date for this new streaming service. I'm like, I have a goddamn Paramount streaming service on my Roku right now that I never touch, but like it's there. It exists already.
It's gonna get confusing.
Yeah, I'm truly like, now I'm Googling it. Now I'm curious because what the fuck is happening here? Paramount Plus release date. Fuck you. What release date? New streaming service from Viacom, CBS. Okay, so it is that. Is taking its existing and rebranding it. This all I feel like I'm losing my goddamn mind. All right, this isn't over. Now I'm launching my Roku. I'm going deep on this motherfucker.
I don't know how the timelines will be presented when this is over. Are we starting the streaming wars? Are we already in the streaming wars? How mental does this get?
I don't know. I mean, it feels like it's inevitable that, much like CBS All Access, a ton of this stuff is just destined to collapse in on itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, will this be a golden age for content creation as they try literally anything to try and find what people want?
And let's be perfectly honest. A lot of it will deserve to crumble.
Yeah. True.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I am still galled by CBS's fucking attempt to have a Just Us streaming service. Like, yes, we believe that just the catalog of CBS can compete with, at the time, what Netflix had, which was fucking literally everything. It's like, yeah, we feel like this is worth the same amount of money. It's like, AKA, no, and B, you should eat 1,000 turds.
Well,
How fucking dare you?
Here in Britain, we're having a bit of an existential crisis with the BBC, which, if they'd got their shit together about 5 years ago, could probably have one of the coolest streaming services out there, just because of the sheer weight of quality content they've got. But I've decided not to instead. Use their current dying trust fund model, which is increasingly irrelevant in the streaming age, unfortunately.
So as an update, I did check my Roku, and there is a Paramount streaming service on there, and there's like 5 shows on it.
Stream all 5 of our shows. Well,
Including, actually, we had someone in the YouTube chat call out that Bar Rescue is one, and they are correct. Others included Mom and 2.5 Men.
and I attached this GoPro to my cat. Seasons 1 through 6.
Yeah. Paramount Network. You thought Quibi was bad.
Paramount, what do you want from us? No, really, what do you want?
Paramount, we can't take a hint.
Paramount. Everybody else is doing this, so we think we should too.
You know, the real fucking kick in the teeth is they didn't even put like some of the actual CBS former hits like How I Met Your Mother, because I mean it kind of it didn't pull a full Game of Thrones, but it kind of pulled a Game of Thrones. Like that show is so dunked on now, but it was a real smash hit for a few seasons.
That's true.
Yeah.
Basically helped revive Neil Patrick Harris's career.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, when like I think we've already discussed this, when a series just has a shit ending, it kind of just takes all that goodwill and burns it.
Oh, absolutely. I've gone back and rewatched so many shows from that time period that How I Met Your Mother used to be in that rotation, and then after the ending, it just dropped out.
Yeah, I mean, I could turn on HBO Max and start Game of Thrones from the very beginning, and I know that I would get 7 seasons of joy out of that. But now it's like, why do I want to? Because I know where it's going.
Yeah. I'm so glad I've watched the final season of Community, because for a long time I thought the final season was the season before that, which I thought was okay, but ultimately pretty disappointing. But then in the final season of Community, it was really fun, and they really landed it. And
Yeah,
now I don't have
I'll
that
stick
sense of
up for
disappointment.
season 6. It wasn't the same show that it started with, but it was still a pretty good show. It was just not the same one. It couldn't be the same show
Mm,
when they had lost half the goddamn cast.
yeah. There's some realistic limitations there.
But I mean, I can't remember the actress's name, but the Frankie character I thought was a great addition. Like Jeff having an actual peer who could go toe to toe with him was an enjoyable twist in the dynamic. And I mean, for Elroy, who the fuck is not going to say that Keith David is value added?
I've Keith David, and I regret I don't know Frankie the actress's name, because I really liked her. I remember looking her up when it was on, and
Is
having
it
a whole
Paget Brewster or something like that?
Brewster something Brewster. She was great. Really liked her, and I really liked the character of Frankie. And Keith David should be in more things. I think there's the popular trope about Morgan Freeman narrating your life, but as far as I'm concerned, Keith David is that's who you want narrating your life.
Oh man, yeah, he's Keith fucking David. It was a great like comedic sub in. It wasn't as high as the highs, but it certainly wasn't as low as the lows. Like it was a good final effort. And the last episode on rewatch I actually appreciated a lot more, because it sort of is about that temptation to hold on to something even though you know it needs to come to a natural end.
Yeah,
And I thought it was handled nicely.
yeah, I agree.
Rick fucking hated it.
Silence.
I didn't watch it.
As soon as Chevy Chase was gone, Rick said, "Fuck this shit."
Man, we spent a lot on streaming there.
We really went down a rabbit hole. I don't even know what you guys talked about on WandaVision when my power went down.
Oh yeah, we did. We regretted your absence there. With the things we're
It's all
talking
right.
about, I'm sure you've probably picked up on.
Yeah, I don't think I really had anything original to add to that discussion other than, damn, it was an enjoyable ass episode.
It
Yeah.
was.
It's got me hooked.
Looking forward to the next one. Yeah, for people listening at home, when we don't know what we're going to do for a side quest and we've left it a bit too late, we just we basically do this. So what are you watching on streaming? And then we just bitch about streaming for an hour, and that is how we get our side quests.
And with the occasional jump in by Bob of I don't give a shit about
Yeah.
Just to keep it
insert
going.
topic here.
Bob, what was that weird rattle that sounded like a mound of gold coins? Beer can lids.
This is why he only has TV references from like the early 2000s. He's got a big pile of VHSs in his dragon cave.
Let's see what's happening on Weird Science today.
Oh man,
Stomping in there, yelling at his kids, "Who touched my 8 tracks?"
What streaming service did all the weird USA shows from that era end up on? Like the Weird Science one and
Oh.
Parker Lewis Can't Lose, all that shit.
Pete and Pete, Erie, Indiana. Erie, Indiana. If I just had a streaming service with all of those weird Americana shows from that period, I would sign up to that. If you're listening, Paramount, wherever it is you're trying to do.
Weird Science is buy only.
Ah, people.
I mean, who's sitting on this? The USA Network?
Yeah, I mean, they've really dropped the ball. Why isn't Weird Science fully available to me immediately? That was great. And Bruce Campbell made a guest appearance in one of the episodes.
What? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
He was Genie. He sang badly and collected his paycheck.
I mean,
appreciate
that is Bruce Campbell, right?
Ah, yeah, I'd love to watch
Can
Pete
very
and
much
Pete again.
respect that.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but one of my friends ended up doing some guard duty at a comic convention a few years back when conventions were a thing.
In the old days.
In the long before.
Mm.
But and in one of his shifts, he ended up being stationed around like Bruce Campbell, and he was like, "Man, pretty much exactly what you would expect. Just a super nice, like down to earth, regular working guy. He's like there to shake hands, sign autographs. It's like he does his shit, treats everyone nicely. You know, exactly what you would hope to hear."
If you ever want to get an idea of certainly what inspired me, and turns out inspired Steve Radzinski when we interviewed him about the blue collar indie aspect of filmmaking, pick up Bruce Campbell's autobiography, If Chins Could Kill: Confessions of a B-Movie Actor, and it's like a diary of the filmmaking process, while also just this kind of really warm-hearted account of all the kind of the fun he had with the people who went on to be much more famous than him, and hanging out with Lucy Lawless and stuff. And he very much describes himself as a blue-collar Hollywood guy. And I think if you're at all interested in filmmaking, particularly the nuts and bolts, hold it together with duct tape aspect of filmmaking, do pick up that book. Strong recommend.
The audiobook is especially nice. He narrates it himself, and you know, Bruce Campbell has Bruce Campbell's vocal talent, so it adds like a great layer to it. It's a real enjoyable listen.
I might pick, even though I've read the book and I'm not really much into audiobooks, I might pick up the audiobook just because of that. I didn't realize
There are some where it's like definitely ads.
Yeah, I can see that. Particularly if it's Bruce Campbell narrating his own kind of memoirs and recollections, then it makes perfect sense. I don't know why that only just occurred to me.
The Bruce Campbell story, as narrated by James Marsters.
Yeah, I think the personal touch is definitely there. Like, Let's Pretend This Never Happened is one of the funniest books I've read. It's so good, but the audiobook just blows it out of the water because the author Jenny Lawson reads it herself, and like the personal touch on all the stories, like the bits of inflection and everything, it just really it enhances it. I need to re-listen to that. That's a great one.
Cool. Okay, tallying up the scores. Oh, I think Rick's taking this one.
Should have left the robot in play.
Yeah. Oh man. Absolutely steaming ahead.
Very nice.
I was proud of that one.
Yeah.
And on that terrible joke, we'll end the stream. All right, everyone. Thanks for dropping in. Sorry about the theme tune. If it's left up to me again, I will do better next time, I assure you. Well, probably not. But yeah, thanks for
Look,
dropping in again,
look at it
Rick.
this way.
Go on, Rick.
I look at it this way. You could have actually gone with the Beatles song for this one and gotten us really sued.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's true. That's true. We didn't get sued. That's the important thing. That's what I tell myself after every podcast. So in the meantime,
Same here.
please join us next week for another adventure Brodio. Toodaloo. Choo choo. Ta ta.